The Oklahoma Supreme Court ruled that a courthouse in Oklahoma must take down a monument to the Ten Commandments. Now, as you might have predicted, Fox News and constitutional conservatives everywhere were completely reasonable about this because they say that you need to respect the Constitution. I'm completely kidding. They think the world's ending. Watch this.
It must be removed. That is the order on the Ten Commandments memorial outside the Oklahoma Capitol grounds. The Oklahoma Supreme Court yesterday ruled the monument violates the state's constitutional ban on using public property to benefit a religion. But is this just another instance of judicial activism? Joining us right now is State Representative Mike Ritzie, who along with his family donated the private funds to erect that monument. He joins us today from Tulsa. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a little delay between here and there. Let me ask you this. Your reaction to the fact that the Supreme Court of Oklahoma said, no, you're going to have to take it down. They didn't cite the U.S. Constitution. They cited your own Oklahoma state constitution, right?
Well, that was the problem that we had. We were very concerned about that because their so-called opinion really didn't cite any of the previous precedent laws that we've had in Oklahoma, and they've never ruled against a display like the Ten Commandments, a passive display like the Ten Commandments before. They only had 3 pages in the ruling, and I've told by the legal scholars and the Attorney General here in Oklahoma that it was probably not their best work as far as the Supreme Court.
Okay. You say this is just another example of judicial activism. Why?
Well, again, it was purely a political decision more than a precedent because the Oklahoma Supreme Court basically has ruled since then many times that the Constitution, Article 2, and they have stated that the displays such as this are constitutional in Oklahoma. We've had 2 other courts that have looked this, lower courts, and they've ruled it constitutional. The Supreme Court of the U.S. has ruled on this identical to the Texas state capitol and a display on public property in Utah. So we were taken back a little bit and definitely disappointed by their non-opinion. We thought that really it was kind of shooting from the hip.
Sure. Well, you know, it's curious because in many instances like this, Mike, it is things in state capitals and on public ground are regarded as historical because that's where, that's where our laws and our heritage came from in the beginning when this nation was first founded. How do the people of Oklahoma and your constituents feel about this?
We've had all through the process 7 years since we wrote and passed the law by a supermajority in the legislature and signed by the governor. We've had very large percent polling, anywhere 80% of Oklahoma citizens are in favor of this. They like to know their heritage, and that's one thing. My wife and I homeschooled 3 children. One went into law, one into medicine, one's an Oklahoma highway patrolman, and all 3 of them knew their heritage. They understood the backgrounds. They could recite the president's names of the United States and the governors of Oklahoma. We homeschooled them, and we hope that to continue to other youth in Oklahoma and citizens to understand the heritage and the historical significance of the Decalogues or the Ten Commandments. One thing that we've tried to emphasize is don't let your freedom slip by. Don't let your heritage, your history. If you forget your history, then you forget your future.
Absolutely.
And as an Army veteran and having 2 great-grandfathers in the War for Independence, I find it really odd at the eve of the birthday of our founding of our country coming up, this decision coming out. This is kind of a slap in the face for all of those who have fought for freedom.
Absolutely. Well, it's not over. I understand people are going to be fighting to change all this. We'll keep people posted. State Representative Mike Ritzie joining us today from Tulsa. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so conservatives, you're no longer allowed to use the term judicial activism because you don't know what it means. You use that term so much, there's no meaning to it anymore because you throw it out whenever you don't like something. Just because you don't like something doesn't necessarily make it judicial activism. So if we actually read the First Amendment, well, let's see if this is a judicial activist opinion. The First Amendment says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Now, even though it says Congress, this does apply to the states as well because of the incorporation doctrine in the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. So that makes most of the Bill of Rights applicable to the states. So you would be a judicial activist not to agree with this ruling. So you don't get to use that term anymore. Now, Steve Doocey made a really curious statement. He says, the Ten Commandments is where our laws come from. Really, Steve? If you read his own holy book, I don't think that even he would want to go with the laws of the Bible, because the Bible condones slavery, subjugation of women. It says that you should be put to death if you work on the Sabbath day. So which parts of the Bible are you going to follow? Because clearly you're wearing that suit right there with mixed linens. Now, Leviticus says that you should be put to death if you wear mixed linens. Isn't that crazy? Of course it's crazy. That's why we don't follow the Bible, because when we start following the Bible and making laws and policies based off of a holy book, any holy book, well, bad things can happen from that. Case in point, Saudi Arabia, Iran. What these people have got to accept is that this is a secular country. Okay, you're free to practice your religion however you want to, but you can't have the state acknowledge and establish a religion. So if a state courthouse is, if it has a monument of the Ten Commandments, then obviously that's in a direct violation of the First Amendment. Now also it's in violation of Oklahoma's own constitution, and rightfully so. So if you really want to do this, then guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to put up a monument for Islam, for Buddhism, even for atheism. But I don't think that they want to do this. See, they just want their religion to be recognized by the government, but nobody else's. Look, bottom line, your religion is not going to be in jeopardy if we remove monuments of the Ten Commandments. We're doing this because it's in violation of the Constitution. If we start eroding the Constitution by doing these types of things and by slowly contradicting it, well, then all of our freedoms, our civil liberties and whatnot, it's just going to go out the window. So this is why we have to remain consistent and protect the Constitution, and we have to rule this way. If you don't like this Constitution, then I'm sorry, but it's here to stay.